It was supposed to be a pleasant evening, a company dinner celebrating my wife Sarah's successful project launch. She'd worked for weeks with her marketing team, and as her husband, I was proud to support her. The restaurant was elegant, filled with polished laughter, and the hum of confidence that came from people who thought they ran the world. I dressed neatly, nothing flashy, and brought along a small bouquet to congratulate her. She smiled politely when I handed it to her, but her eyes darted quickly toward her co-workers, almost embarrassed. That tiny flicker told me something. In her world, I wasn't someone she bragged about anymore. As the evening went on, Sarah seemed more interested in keeping up appearances than enjoying my company. Her colleagues, mostly younger, ambitious types, kept the table loud with jokes and wine-fuel stories. Then there was him, Alex, her closest co-worker. A tall, smug guy with slick-back hair and the kind of fake charm that made everyone laugh too easily. He was sitting across from us, his sleeves rolled up, watch gleaming under the light. I could tell immediately that he liked being the center of attention. And Sarah, unfortunately, seemed to enjoy being part of his spotlight. When the waiter came by, I noticed Sarah leaning close to Alex, whispering something that made him chuckle. I tried to ignore it, focusing on the meal, but I caught the way he looked at me like he was sizing me up. Then out of nowhere, he said loudly, "So, Mark, what do you do again? Sarah mentioned you work from home." His tone carried that edge, the kind meant to mock without sounding obvious. The table went quiet, waiting for my response. "I'm in consulting," I said evenly. "Mostly business development," he smirked. "Ah, so between jobs," her laughter rippled softly around the table. Sarah didn't say a word. She just looked down at her glass. That's when something in me shifted. I'd been quiet long enough, polite, humble, patient. But there's a thin line between humility and being treated like you don't matter. I leaned back, smiled, and said calmly, "Actually, I'm the founder of a small business development firm. You might have heard of Titan Strategies. We work with a few Fortune 500 companies. Maybe even your parent company if I'm not mistaken." The smirk froze on Alex's face. "Wait, that Titan Strategies?" someone asked from across the table. "The one that just brokered the Zephyr Tech merger?" I nodded slowly. "That's the one." The table fell silent. Even the waiter paused mid-step. Alex blinked, clearly realizing how badly he'd just misfired. I didn't gloat. I didn't need to. I simply took a sip of water and added, "Funny thing about working from home. Sometimes it just means your office has a better view and fewer interruptions." A few of the co-workers chuckled nervously, trying to smooth things over. Sarah's face turned pale. She opened her mouth, probably to explain or apologize, but I wasn't interested in saving her from the awkwardness she'd let unfold. Alex tried to recover. "Well, that's impressive," he said, forcing a laugh. "Guess I should have done my homework before cracking jokes." I smiled faintly. "Yes," I said, "especially when you're sitting across from someone who might have negotiated your department's last budget increase." His jaw tightened, and that was the end of his smirk. The others at the table now looked at me differently. Not as Sarah's quiet, unimportant husband, but as someone who didn't need to prove anything. I turned to Sarah. "You never mentioned what Alex's role was." "Junior analyst." "Right," she nodded weakly. "Yeah, something like that." The rest of the dinner passed in awkward silence. The confident chatter from earlier had vanished. I ate calmly, enjoying my steak while the others picked at their food. Every now and then, I caught Sarah glancing at me, her expression a mix of shock and guilt. When the check came, I reached for it before anyone else could. "Allow me," I said. "After all, it's a night of celebration. Isn't it?" Alex quickly protested. "Oh, no, that's not necessary, I insist." I interrupted politely. I handed my card to the waiter, a sleek black titanium business card reserved for high-tier accounts. The metallic clink it made when placed on the tray was louder than any words I could have said. On the drive home, Sarah was quiet. I could feel the tension between us, heavy and unspoken. "Finally," she said, "you didn't have to do that. You know, you embarrassed him." I glanced at her, then back at the road. "Embarrassed him," I said. "He mocked me in front of your colleagues, and you sat there pretending not to hear." She sighed. I didn't know what to say. I shook my head. You didn't have to say anything. Just not laughing would have been enough. The car was silent again. Then I added, next time, pick a table where respect is served with the wine. When we got home, she tried to apologize. I didn't mean for it to come across that way, she said softly. I just didn't think. That's the problem, I interrupted. You didn't think. You forgot who you married. You were so busy fitting into their world. You let them treat me like I didn't belong. Her eyes watered. Mark, please. But I was already walking away. The dinner had revealed more than her colleagues' arrogance. It had shown me how far she drifted from the woman who once admired me for my drive, not my title. The next morning, Sarah's team chat was buzzing with talk about the dinner incident. Word had spread fast. Even Richard, her director, emailed me personally. Impressive composure last night. Mark Alex needed that lesson. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. Later that day, Sarah called from work. Her voice small. Everyone's talking about you. She said, they keep saying how you shut Alex down. I could hear the pride and regret mixed in her tone. I smiled faintly. Good, I said. Maybe next time they'll remember not to mistake quiet for weakness. From that night on things changed. Sarah never again introduced me as just Mark or brushed off my achievements. She learned the hard way that silence doesn't mean insignificance. And as for Alex, he avoided me at every company event afterward, still nursing the bruise on his ego. Because when someone calls you a nobody, sometimes the best response isn't anger or defense. It's simply reminding them calmly and undeniably that the only nobody at the table was the one who didn't know